Okay, we are streaming live to YouTube and recording to the cloud.
Thanks, Paul. And then can you also move over Italia Garcia from attendees to panelists?
I think somebody beat me.
Great.
I got it, Paul. I moved it
Thanks.
over.
All right, Anthony, thanks. All right, good to go.
All right, Derek, we're ready.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, sorry about that. First of all, welcome everyone to the last EJCP meeting for 2020. I'd like to thank everybody for attending. Before we get into our presentation, we have a couple of items that we got to do. First is review of action items, and I'm going to have, since I'm driving, I'm going to have Alicia handle that one.
Okay. Well, before we get started, Julie, do you want to go over the housekeeping items and then I'll go over the action items?
Oh yeah, sorry about that.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Well, welcome everybody to the meeting. I just want to let you know that we will do our best to facilitate a smooth meeting with public participation. We ask that everyone be patient as we navigate this together. And to let you know, we do have two formats for participation. We have the Zoom web application as well as teleconference. And I want to review some guidelines and general instructions for the meeting. These are very important, so I ask that you please pay close attention. Please silence your communication devices, such as your cell phone or your desk phone. This will ensure that we are not hearing any feedback or causing interruption during the meeting. During the meeting, all participants on Zoom, except for board members and South Coast AQMD staff, will be placed on mute by the host. That means that you will not be able to mute or unmute your lines manually. After each agenda item, the chair will announce the comment. And just to let you know, for the Zoom instructions, anyone on Zoom, if you would like to make a public comment on the Zoom screen, please check on the raise hand button. This will signal to the host that you would like to provide public comment and you will be added to the list. If you're using Zoom on your smartphone, please tap the raise hand button on the bottom of the screen. For those calling in using the phone line only, you can dial *9 on your keypad to signal that you would like to comment. Your name will be called when it is your turn to comment, and the host will unmute your line automatically. Please note that you can hang up and/or leave the Zoom meeting at any time. We do have a legal disclaimer letting you know that this meeting is being recorded by the South Coast Air Quality Management District. This audio and visual recording may be used by the South Coast AQMD and posted for public use. By continuing in the meeting, you are consenting to being recorded and to subsequent use of the recording. We also have decorum. Please adhere to the speaker time limits. Please treat others with courtesy and civility and respect the public meeting process. Rules prohibiting the use of signs or posters remain in effect for video participation. Profanity, discriminatory comments, or obscene gestures is prohibited. Disorderly, unruly, or aggressive behavior that infringes upon the rights of others or disrupts the good working order of the meeting is also prohibited. Any violation of those above rules can result in your mic being muted, your video feedback shut off, or you being dropped from the phone or Zoom meeting lines. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. So welcome everyone, as Derek mentioned, to the final meeting of the year. Thank you for being here. And there were 3 action items from the September 2nd meeting, which included for South Coast AQMD staff to share outreach material with the advisory council members. And those outreach items were sent on October 7th. The other action item was for myself to meet with Ms. Dorazo who's Paula from the Advisory Council regarding EJ Conference suggestions and recommendations. We met on September 11th. And the final action item from the meeting was to follow up with Ms. Martinez, Teresa Martinez, regarding the monitoring of Exide and basic air quality in the region. And on November 20th, an email response was sent to her. It contained links and news updates on Exide. And she was also provided recent air quality information on the region and a link to the presentation on the 2020 ozone season and wildfire impacts. Next, we're going to move to the approval of the September 2nd, 2020 meeting minutes. Derek, do you want to mention anything?
No, I'm good. Go ahead.
Okay. So does anyone have any comments or edits to the meeting minutes? Let me double check. Okay, I don't see any hands raised. So hearing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Eddie Marquez, so move.
Okay, Eddie, does someone second?
Oscar Rodriguez, second.
Thank you. So the minutes have been approved.
Let's take a voice vote. Take a voice vote. The motion you got the first and the second. Now we got to do the vote.
I'll go ahead and do a roll call.
Yeah.
This is Julie. I'll go ahead and do a roll call. Okay, Pamela at City. Ada Roseño. Atalia Garcia.
Aye.
Valerie Gonzalez.
Aye.
Lisa Hart.
Yes.
Todd Heibel. Sahara. Eddie Marquez.
Aye.
Teresa Martinez.
Aye.
Leshay Rodriguez.
Aye.
Oscar Rodriguez.
Hello.
Hi, Oscar. We're taking a vote for the minutes. The roll
Yes.
call. Thank you.
Yes.
Nicole Murray.
Aye.
Sienna Thomas.
Aye.
Paula Torado Plazas.
Aye.
Rebecca Zaragoza.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion passes.
Okay. Thank you, Julie. You know, I'm driving, so I got to jump off. So I'm going to have Alicia take over for now. And my understanding is the next presentation is going to be by Julie to give the goals and objectives. So I'm going to turn it over to Alicia. Alicia, you can handle this from here, and I got to get off. Okay.
Okay.
Happy holidays to everyone. Happy holidays.
Thanks, Eric.
Thank you.
Okay, so next we have the 2020 goals and objectives.
Hi, this is Julie again. I hope that you and your families and coworkers are still staying safe during this pandemic and unprecedented times. As you know, it's been a long year for all of us. So now it comes to the end of the year where we're starting to look at our goals and objectives for 2021. In your agenda packet that you received, you should have been able to review and take a look at our goals and objectives. So if you could please let me know, does anyone have any recommendations, or if there's no comments or questions, we can go ahead and go call for a motion.
I move to approve.
Thank you, Ada. Do we have a second?
Second by Italia.
Okay.
Great. I think for this item, we'll also do a roll call for the
Yes.
record.
And I'll go ahead and I'll do that. Pamela at City. Ara Briseño,
Yes.
Atalia Garcia,
Yes.
Valerie Gonzalez.
Yes.
Thank you. Lisa Hart,
I'm going to say no.
okay.
We
Todd
haven't had
Heibel,
any discussion. Are we allowed to have discussion before we vote?
No, you discuss after.
No, usually we have a discussion before.
Yeah, I think Julie had
Not if
mentioned
there's a
if
motion
anyone
on the
had any
floor.
comments.
Daphne,
There was a call for comments and discussion before the vote.
Oh, I missed. Oh, yeah, that was very brief. Sorry. I'm sorry. I missed that. Yeah, that was sorry.
should I continue with the roll call?
Yes, please.
Okay, sorry. Todd Heibel, Sahara, Eddie Marquez,
Aye.
Teresa Martinez,
Aye.
Lachey Rodriguez,
Aye.
Oscar Rodriguez,
Aye.
Nicole Murray,
Aye.
Sienna Thomas,
Aye.
Paula Andrea Torado Palazas,
Aye.
Rebecca Zaragoza.
I'm going to abstain.
Okay. The motion passes. And at
Julie, I
this,
want to let you know that Todd got moved over from attendee to panelist.
oh, he was there.
So I
Todd?
moved him over, so I don't know if you want to take his vote, just for the record.
Yes. Todd,
And I am so sorry. I arrived belatedly, so I will politely abstain. Thank you.
okay. Okay. Alicia,
Okay, I'm sorry. Did the motion pass with Todd?
the motion did pass.
Okay,
Yes.
great. Thank you. So thank you, everyone. And Lisa, if you have any comments regarding that, feel free to email us so we can see if we can incorporate something in a future meeting. Next, we have
Oh, it's
Lisa.
not okay to- I'm sorry. It's not okay to have a discussion.
I'll leave that up to Daphne, or I'll defer to Daphne on that.
You can have a discussion on the item, yes.
Okay, on the item we
It's
just.
on the agenda, so yes, please.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Lisa?
I just wanted to say, I mean, they look good. I don't have any additions or suggestions or criticisms. I just wish that we were more involved in the process. I just feel like we're just sort of pro forma approving them without any real engagement. And I guess I wish I could feel like and I don't know if other folks feel this way, like we could be of more value in contributing to the process a little bit more. It just feels, I don't know what the word is, but a little too rote to be really meaningful. Does that make any sense to anybody?
Yeah. I think we could have made it a little bit more clear because we did send it out for review since, we do have like a quarterly meeting. So there's a few months that kind of go through in between. So if anyone has any additions to it though, we can vote with an amendment on it if there's something on there that you would want to add.
Well, I guess what I'm thinking is maybe for a future year to have it actually be agendas for a discussion. Maybe we did discuss these. I don't recall doing that. But, for a discussion before we approve them, that's really what I'm trying to say.
Got it.
Thank
We
you.
can certainly do that next time around for the goals and objectives.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Great. Any other comments? Okay. So next we're going to move on to the 2020 federal update. We have Lisa Tanaka O'Malley, who is our Senior Public Affairs Manager, who's going to give us an update. Lisa?
Hi, everyone. My name is Lisa Tanaka. I'm Senior Public Affairs Manager in Legislative Public Affairs and Media. And then, I'm sorry, Alicia, is someone going to share my slides or should I share them myself?
I will be sharing your slides.
Super, thank you. I think we need to go forward several slides here. Keep going. This is, I think this is maybe someone else's presentation.
Next slide.
Okay, great. So next slide. So this afternoon, I'm going to review some of the bills, major bills that passed or moved through the 116th Congress. We're almost at the end of that congressional session, but I'll talk about transportation and infrastructure, energy, our fiscal year 2020 appropriations, and COVID and economic stimulus. Next slide, please. So transportation and infrastructure. We all were hopeful that a bill would get through this Congress. Unfortunately, it did not in the House. And what I'm going to do, just as a way of background, I'm going to compare the House and Senate actions. Last year was challenging. A lot of major bills did not make it through. So we'll talk about where they got to and where we hope they'll go in the next 117th Congress. So in the House, we had HR 2, which is called the House Moving Forward Framework Act. And it included a massive climate title in it. Was all through the news. So hopefully you've heard of it. Within that bill, there were several provisions of particular interest to air quality. The first one being HR 2616. So this was a separate bill called the Clean Corridors Bill, and it was folded into this larger bill. And what this would provide is electric and hydrogen charging infrastructure, and that would be $250 million per year. On the Senate side, it's S2302, America's Transportation Infrastructure Bill. They also included a very similar provision, but it included not only electric and hydrogen, but natural gas. So that's a very promising provision that we're hoping will be included in the year coming forward. In the Transportation and Infrastructure Bill, there was also a climate smart ports provision that was authored by our own Congresswoman Nanette Barragan, who represents our South Coast Air Quality Management Agency. And it's a terrific program which would create a new program. It's $500 million per year to electrify the ports and goods movement. There's a similar bill on the Senate side. Unfortunately, that did not make it into the Senate version of the bill. And then in addition, in the transportation bill, there's a reauthorization for the Diesel Emissions Reductions Act, which is called DERA. It's a very popular program. The goal of this is to reduce emissions from diesel vehicles and equipment. That was included in the Senate bill. So the reason I compare the two bills, I'm sorry, I need to move this screen because I can't see my slides. Okay, so is that what normally would happen is the House would pass the bill, the Senate would pass the bill, they would compare which provisions are the same and which are different, they work out the differences, and then a final package would be passed by Congress and sent to the administration. In this Congress, that did not happen. We got the House bill all the way through the House floor vote. It was largely a partisan vote, but the Senate side, they only were able to get their bill through their full committee or the Senate Committee on Environment and Public Works. So we sort of got stuck at that point. Going forward into the 117th Congress, the Transportation Infrastructure Package is supposed to be one of the first out of the gate. The highway bill technically needed to be reauthorized by September 30th before all of those programs expired. They added a short-term extension for 1 year, so we're expecting that this bill will come out of the next Congress. And these are some of the things that we're looking at. So next slide. Same thing with the energy bill. It was passed out of the House of Representatives, the Clean Economy and Jobs Innovation Act. In the Senate, S-2657, American Energy Innovation Act, only made it out of committee. It has been held up for floor consideration. So this is another major bill which has significant benefits for air quality. In particular, in the House bill, there is a large program called Transportation Electrification. This program was used during the last fiscal economic crisis, and it's largely an economic stimulus type of program. It would contain $2 billion for longer term projects, research types of projects, but $2.5 billion for near term, quote unquote, shovel ready projects. And during the last grant process for this program in the South Coast region, we did quite well, and we received a large grant to work on hybrid electric vehicles. So fingers crossed for that. It's not in the Senate version of the bill. We'll see what happens. Again, on the House side, they included the Climate Smart Ports bill. They did not include it on the Senate side, although there is a similar bill there. In the House side, it includes a reauthorization for DERA for $500 million per year. This is a better number than what's in the transportation bill. So, depending on which bill leaves the gate first and gets to the president's desk, we're hoping for the larger $500 million number. And another really key provision, especially for this body, is HR 3923. This bill was actually introduced by Congressman Ruiz, who represents the South Coast Air Basin as well, from the Coachella Valley. This particular bill, the provisions that were rolled into the energy bill would codify the National Environmental Justice Advisory Council. It would also require all federal agencies to consider environmental justice and create strategic plans on an annual basis. And it would require, when considering permitting for water and air quality issues, that repeat offenders, ones who've had violations, that would be considered when they request permits. So there are some other provisions, but those are kind of the three main areas that I thought might be of interest to y'all. There are other really beneficial provisions in the House bill. There's a Smoke Planning and Research Act, which we were working on. Given all the wildfires, it's an important area to look at. It included funding for clean electric school buses. That was a bill by Senator Harris. There was also a lot of other programs which our delegation was behind, including weatherization with priority for EJ communities, solar, microgrids, and other programs, all with priorities for environmental justice communities. On the Senate side, the bill was much slimmer, didn't have as much of the climate and EJ provisions, but it got stuck in committee. So right now we're hearing that Congress may take some of these energy provisions and stick them into the end of year appropriations bill. So it won't be as large of package, and then whatever didn't pass this year will likely get rolled forward into the next Congress. So next slide. So appropriations. So appropriations is our funding, and in 2020 we actually were happy. We saw a few bump ups. Targeted airshed grants, those are grants that go to the 5 worst non-attainment areas for ozone and particulate matter 2.5. South Coast Air Basin being one of the regions that are able to apply for these grants. In the 2019-2020 combined cycle, we received $37 million from that program for electrification projects in our basin, mainly Volvo lights. DERA received an appropriation of $87 million. South Coast AQMD applied and received $2.2 million. And then the state and local assistance program, it's known as 103, 105. That program has largely been flat for the last several years. This program funds things like monitoring, special research projects, equipment. South Coast has received some very specialized microscopes that we use in our laboratory for speciating particulate matter. So that was fiscal year 2020 in a nutshell. This year for 2021, unfortunately, we kind of hit another wall. The House passed all of their bills except for 2, and the Senate did not pass any bills, any appropriations bills for fiscal year 2021. So the Senate, after the election, started working on appropriations. We are hearing that the bills are moving. It will be a large omnibus bill, meaning they'll roll all 13 bills into one large bill, with the exception of probably defense and homeland security. There are some issues on especially homeland security, as the president has requested funding that is controversial. So right now, between the House and Senate bills, we're looking at a better number for targeted airshed grants, 58.3 million. Another kind of issue we have with the House bill is they wanted to expand the program to the top 10 worst air quality regions in the nation, and that would really dilute the funding base. The Senate bill would bring it back to the 5 worst, so we are supporting the Senate number here. DERA, the House bill for 2021 would include $90 million plus an additional $450 million, which would be sort of like an economic stimulus provision. So we're supporting the House numbers there. The Senate bill would only have $87 million, so a flat appropriation. And then for state and local grants, the House has a better number at 253, and the Senate proposal is to remain flat. So this is all kind of in play as we speak. We're getting updates from DC moment by moment on what's going on in the negotiations. So fingers crossed that it ends up being a good year. If the appropriations for 2021 are not approved, they'll do another continuing resolution, which is what we're operating on right now, which will take us into potentially the new year, but yet to be seen. So next slide. COVID-19 relief and economic stimulus. I'm sure we all read about it in the news. There's been so much controversy. Since the CARES Act, Congress has not been able to agree with the administration on a new package. And so we are also in that point right now where they are negotiating. There is a new proposal by the Senate that came out that's supposed to be bipartisan. The numbers are lower than we would hope for state and local government assistance. And the administration is supposed to be working on a new package as well. But what happened in the past was with the last CARES Act bill, we had requested assistance for agencies like South Coast AQMD to help us with unexpected expenses as well as lost revenues. And what Congress was able to do was allow us access to the Federal Reserve Loan Guarantee Program, which really didn't actually help an agency like South Coast. We don't use those types of financial instruments. So what we've been doing is working with the special districts, and there's a very large coalition, South Coast AQMD being one of the largest air agencies participating, fire and public safety entities, health entities, parks and recreations, all the special districts throughout the nation working together. The last language we saw would enable state and local governments to transfer a portion of their funding that they receive from the next COVID bill to special districts. We're hoping for it to go a little bit farther and to actually require some of the funding to be trickled down to special districts as we provide critical services for communities. So that is in the works right now, again, receiving updates minute by minute as things happening in DC. One thought is that the COVID package, a small COVID package, will be included in this omnibus appropriations bill, the spending bill, but we're still, again, waiting for those updates and working on with our senators and members of Congress. Next slide. So climate and environmental justice. I just wanted to pause and spend a little bit of time on this because in going into the next Congress, there's great hope that there'll be more attention spent in particular for air quality and environmental justice. And what we're seeing the trend to be in legislative efforts is really to overlap all of these things with their major bills. So for example, in transportation and infrastructure and an energy bill, all of those programs have the ones that we're following have an emphasis on prioritizing environmental justice communities, working on issues that hit some of our hardest hit communities by diesel emissions, goods movement, et cetera, and public safety. So those are sort of like the trend we're seeing. So when we talk about transportation, when we talk about energy, environmental justice is the overlay, as well as air quality and climate, and then of course jobs. So that's just sort of wanted to share with you on that flavor. There are a couple of bills that we're working on right now that may be of interest. They put out kind of draft versions this session. We're expecting them to be reintroduced next year. One of them would deal with air toxics by Congresswoman Blunt Rochester. We're still working with her and evaluating the bill and bringing it to our board for consideration. And also Congresswoman Barragan has introduced another bill which would prioritize environmental justice communities for microgrids, so clean energy microgrids. So for example, in a public safety power shutoff, a microgrid would take over and provide power to, and which would eliminate the need for like diesel backup generators. So that would reduce emissions in communities, provide better stability and energy, potentially lower costs, and also support clean infrastructure like transportation. So those are some of the things looking ahead. I think really that's it. My next slide, I think, is my last slide. So where are we now? Right now we're in session. The Electoral College is supposed to take place on December 14th. The House is scheduled to adjourn on the 10th with the Senate the following week. Right now, we have heard that the House does not plan to change their adjournment date. So if bills are not finished, they could adjourn and then be called back because the Senate is a week behind. The 117th Congress will begin in January with a joint session of Congress counting the Electoral College votes on the 6th, and then inauguration is supposed to be the 20th, and then the first 100 days. And the first 100 days of a new administration are always usually like the most productive and fast-paced. Everyone's rushing to get agenda items completed, transportation, energy being two of the top priority bills that will be moved. And with that, I think that's it, and I can take any questions. So I guess I'll just recognize each person. So Oscar Rodriguez, you had a question?
Yes. Is there any funding for CCRs, like for cities, community choice energy, community choice? They call it between community choice energy and community choice aggregate, I believe.
Yeah, so that's super interesting. You might want to take a look at Congresswoman Nanette Barragan's bill. I'm trying to think of the number off the top of my head. I can get that to you. She introduced a bill called the Energy Resilient Communities Act. We're actually bringing it to our board in December for a position of support with amendments. And that bill would provide grants to communities to create these sustainable energy, clean energy microgrids. So there is talk about funding. And then also the energy bill had some additional funding and with a prioritization for environmental justice communities.
Okay, thank you.
Teresa Martinez.
Hi, yes. So I think we spoke about that one bill that Senator Barragan, did you say that bill passed, the one that's the clean energy microgrid microgrids that eliminate the need to use power generators?
So she just introduced that bill at the end of this congressional session, so it hasn't actually moved yet. But I believe the intention is to reintroduce it in the 117th Congress in January. And so that's very exciting. So we're working with our office right now.
Oh, I know. I'm excited about it too, because I think our last meeting we spoke about the power outages and the generators and what is going to, who's going to take that on.
Exactly.
So that was great to hear.
Yeah.
And will you be sharing your slides with us as well with the committee?
Sure, I'm happy to do that. I could work with Alicia and Julie and Jeanette to make that happen. And just another little interesting tidbit about the microgrids is South Coast AQMD is working with University of California, Irvine on a study on how those clean microgrids can also support transportation infrastructure. So as we push for, zero emission trucks and equipment that impact our communities, these microgrids will also help support those types of, clean vehicles. So during public power safety shutoffs, or just to back up the grid because they do draw a lot of energy, that's another critical element we're looking at. So.
Oh, that's good. That's good news also. Will you keep us updated on that one?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Also, the PowerPoint slides are in the agenda packet.
Oh, great. Done.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
I see a question from Rebecca.
Yeah, hi. I just wanted to ask or mention that I think Congressman Raul Ruiz has also introduced legislation. I think it's called the Salton Sea Public Health and Environmental Protection Act. Is that something that AQMD will be following, especially since it may also relate to AB 617 implementation?
Yes, you know what? Thank you so much, Rebecca. I meant to mention it, and I printed out my notes on that bill. Absolutely, we're looking at that bill. We will be reaching out to the congressman to further partner after we have legislative committee and board approval to do so. And he's also been working to require the federal agencies to coordinate with regard to Salton Sea. So he's been doing a lot of things, not just legislatively, but coordination wise. So really interesting stuff that could help. And another program of interest that might be of interest to the 617 communities are the small EJ grants. The energy bill included one of Congressman Ruiz's provisions for small EJ grants, which Congresswoman Barragan on the floor added additional money for. And those grants would help communities plan similar, not as extensively, it seems, as a 617, but it does have funding there, $50,000 grants.
Lisa, can you share those grants, or where are they available?
So they're, unfortunately, because Congress was not able to get these bills out.
I see, sorry.
Session, yeah, but these are the types of things that we're looking at in the 117th Congress, and we're working with our delegation in support of. So there's promise, for the next year, but the 116th Congress was, run really fast, and then we kind of hit a wall when the Senate really didn't consider bills and didn't move them through the process. So we got a lot of support in the House, but just not on the Senate side.
Got it. Thank you.
That's it. Oh, Lisa Hart.
Sorry, I'm not sure if I'm doing this the right way. Going old school, my regular old-fashioned hand. Is there a way, to Paolo's question, is there a way for us to track that and find out if those bills, if those grants would be available? Do you have any suggestions for keeping tabs on that?
Yeah, so, well, number one, I can keep Alicia and her team apprised as bills move. And then the Federal Register is available online, and it's free. And every agency publishes all of their notifications, including grants and administrative actions. And so you can literally, we look at it every single day. I have, EPA tabbed, I have transportation, I have even energy and sometimes defense, judiciary tabbed. And, we just kind of take a quick look. It's pretty fast to skim them. But I feel like we'll also be able to provide Alicia an update when, hopefully, fingers crossed, some of these good bills make it through. In the next Congress, we'll keep you apprised.
Thank you. That would be great. Thank you.
I think that's all the questions. So thank you so much for allowing me to present, and happy to answer questions at any time.
Were there any public comments or questions from the public?
Don't see any.
Okay, I just wanted to double check.
Thank you, Lisa, for that really informational presentation. We'll certainly be circling back with you in this upcoming new year to track the changes that occur.
Great.
So next, I have the pleasure of introducing Sienna Thomas, an advisory council member and environmental technician at Torres Martinez Desert Coahuila Indians. She will be providing an overview on illegal dumping issues that tribal nations face, including the Torres Martinez Indian Reservation. Sienna?
Nya Sienna Thomas Sumulik. Nya Pipash. Nya Sisistas. Hello, everyone. My name is Sienna Thomas, and I come from the Salt River Pima Maricopa Indian community, and also from the Northern Cheyenne community in Lane Deer, Montana. I currently reside on the Torres Martinez Indian Reservation, located in Thermal, California. I've lived here more than half of my life. My stepdad is from here, so I've worked for the tribe for approximately 15 years, here and there in different capacities. My latest role is environmental technician. So I will greet you in their language, Miahuen, which means hello. So are these the right slides?
Yeah, next slide, please.
Oh, yeah. Next slide. Okay, so today I'm going to discuss some issues and some pilot projects that we've been implementing to try to mitigate some of the illegal dumping. So the Torres, little background information on the Torres Martinez Reservation. It was established on May 20th, 1876. It encompasses 24,000 acres, stretching from Imperial to Riverside counties. Keep in mind that half of the reservation lies underneath the Salton Sea. So that's something to think about, especially when we talk about issues concerning the Salton Sea and the air quality. So we are a very large stakeholder in that huge mess. So we have several types of lands on the reservation: tribal lands, which are owned by the tribe. And we have allotted lands, which are lands that are allotted to individuals. So, and then we also have fee land, which is lands that lie within tribal boundaries, but they were sold. And so now they fall under the county. So again, allotted land, it's kind of difficult to try to convey that tribal lands and allotted lands are separate, because like the fee land, even though they lie within tribal boundaries, they are owned individually by tribal members. So some of the things that we discussed later on, that's important to know. Okay, and so unfortunately, Torres Martinez happens to be the most polluted tribal land in California, Arizona, and Nevada. Next slide. So Torres Martinez has a history of dumping, illegal dumping. Federal officials traced the first big dump to 1989 Ibanez sewage composting. That was a huge thing. I know even Greenpeace came out and there was a lot of protesting, which was, just a huge issue. And unfortunately, we'll come back to that later on as we talk about the Sun Valley recycling fire in 2019, which was of huge concern to everyone. And so illegal dumps on allotted lands, we've had the 1994 cease and desist order. EPA reported high levels of dioxin in 2003. Was declared a Superfund site in 2007. So again, these are all occurring on allotted lands, so private property. Next slide. So what causes illegal dumping? Population growth, high levels of waste production, avoidance of waste disposal fees at waste management sites, and a lack of understanding about the importance of recycling and social norms. Next slide. So who is dumping and why? So again, allotment owners. So some of the reasons why allottees are allowing illegal dumping on their land is because of poverty. I mean, they're desperate to make money because the lack of jobs, the lack of resources. Unfortunately, a lot of those allottees, have substance abuse problems. So again, they need money, so they're allowing it. And historical trauma is another thing, through the effects of colonization and forced assimilation. All of these play a part into why, things are the way they are on the reservation. Also, disconnection from their culture, their traditions, and their history. Again, when we talk about the effects, the long-lasting effects of colonization and forced assimilation. I know a lot of people aren't familiar with some of the history of boarding schools where they were taking children away and making them feel ashamed of their culture, their identity, and forcing their religion, forcing their language on people, and all encompasses historical trauma. So we're still social norms again. Like I said, just removal of your social norms, disregard and lack of recycling knowledge. So another landscapers, construction, and agriculture. So, and a lot of times they do this because they don't want to pay the fees or because it's more convenient than driving, from the west end of the valley, all the way to the east end of the valley. Community and general public. So again, avoidance of fees, social norms, lack of recycling knowledge, and convenience. Next slide. Next slide. Utility effects, ground pollution, air pollution, visual and health impacts, biodiversity impacts, and as we've seen last year, fires. Next slide. Okay, so we've been taking an inventory of all of the illegal dumping that's happening on reservation land. So we've compiled a comprehensive database identifying all of the dump sites within tribal land jurisdiction and adjacent county land. So again, this encompasses the tribal, allotted, fee, and county lands. So we update this bi-weekly. So we go out and monitor all the sites, which is very time consuming because the land is checkerboarded. So, and like I said earlier, it stretches from Riverside into Imperial County. So it's very time consuming, takes a lot of time, and even just to try to locate these illegal dumps, that some of them had been previously documented in the past, but due to staff overturn and overgrowth, like they're hard to find. Some of them are very hard to find. So we have to go out and visit the sites, document, take pictures, We've identified approximately 34 illegal dumps. Some of the worst sites happen to be on fee land. And we have contacted the county, but they say it's tribal jurisdiction. So there's a little disconnect there that we still haven't found a resolution to. Next slide. Okay, so some of our discoveries, not always pleasant. So we're seeing a lot of construction and demolition waste, abandoned automobiles, including, you know, all their parts, tires, oil. You know, people steal a car, they take it out there, they strip it down, and they leave us with the mess. A lot of appliances, furniture, huge amounts of green waste. We just identified a second site that rivals Ibanez, which was the source of the wildfires last year. Household waste, medical waste, discarded pets, and animals used for consumption. So we're finding a lot of carcasses out there, which isn't always pleasant because we never know what kind of a body we're going to find, which is scary. And then we also find liquids. They could be pesticides, herbicides, they could be cleaners, paint. We don't know what's out there. It's very questionable. So it's very concerning, you know, as in regards to like what's seeping into the soil, what's seeping into our groundwater, what's going to, you know, go into our air. Next slide. And here's a few pictures from some of our dump sites. These aren't the worst ones, but these are some of the pretty bad ones. So here we have a bunch of oil seeping into the ground. Here's some goats that met some kind of untimely demise. I don't know if they were sick or if we don't know, but it's very disturbing when we find pets and animals out. Next slide. So some of the pilot projects that we've implemented, we started with a 2019 waste stream assessment where we found over 1,100 pounds of waste recorded from both the tribal housing community and tribal headquarters. Paper waste was one of the primary sources. So to try to mitigate that, we contracted a recycling company to take care of our paper waste. And so we're collecting paper waste from the tribal offices and also from the tribal members. And food waste was identified as a secondary source. So we came up with a project to implement a community compost program. So we have tribal members, we give them buckets every week, and they fill them up with their food waste, their scraps, and we turn it into compost. So we do a weekly pickup. We take it out to our wetland sites where we have bins, and we process it. Over the summer, it goes really fast, so we're able to have plenty of nutrient-rich compost for the senior garden and for hopefully in the future, a community garden. So we can promote food sovereignty and food security for our tribal members. And one of the unique things about our community compost program is that we are also identifying clean green waste from some of the illegal dumps that we are using to help divert from the illegal dumps and turn that also into compost. And we do a lot of outreach and education. So we're providing materials and engaging the tribal members on the importance of recycling, stewardship of the land, and just really trying to reconnect tribal members to the land. So a lot of the tribal members have never even been outside of the housing community other than, you know, just here at the tribal headquarters. So they've not been out to the Salton Sea. They haven't been to the Delta. They haven't been to, you know, some of the important cultural sites out there to have an appreciation for it. So that's one of my biggest goals and passions is to get better respect and understanding for their land and the land, you know, that we all share. Next slide. Okay, so our current action plans are for this fiscal year 2021. We're submitting EPA open dump survey forms detailing potential air quality contaminants. We've been collaborating with AB 617, so we're trying to brainstorm for solutions, hopefully get some funding and enforcement assistance, because that's what we're lacking also is enforcement. We're, you know, not heavily staffed. We just don't have the resources to do that right now, especially given, you know, the stretch of our land base. Installation of cameras at key hotspots, so hopefully be able to catch some of the companies or individuals who are dumping illegally. We've noticed that land that have berms built around them are less dumped on because it's harder for them to back up and dump. Installing fencing and signage. We did have some signs that were donated to us, but unfortunately they've been taken and defaced and thrown away. So we've noticed that that doesn't always work. And it's also a double-edged sword because it could also be seen as a beacon, like here, dump here, even though it says no dumping. We're also compiling a comprehensive illegal dump ordinance and adapting tribal enforcement codes. So like I said, enforcement is one of the big issues that we have. And it kind of goes deeper than that because the tribal community is so close-knit. Like a lot of the tribal council members and community members, Alatis, they're family. And so it makes it really hard to implement, you know, enforcement when it's your own family. So those are kind of some of the roadblocks that we face, but we're working on it. And hopefully, you know, we can come to some compromise or, you know, something to help stop all of this. And we've also been collaborating with community-based organizations, environmental groups, some of the local tribes and local municipalities. Next slide. And that concludes my presentation. And we just want to keep our reservation beautiful. This is a, you know, prime example of, you know, what our deserts are supposed to look like. You know, beautiful, pristine, with, you know, natural plants, native species, all holding the soil down so there's less dust flying around when we have high wind events. And my contact information, if anybody wants to reach out, if you have any ideas, if you want to, you know, brainstorm, if you want to work together, please feel free to email me or call me. I mean, we're always seeking solutions because this is one of the biggest problems that we face.
Thank you, Sienna. Does anyone have any questions, comments? Anyone from the audience or the public? No?
I just want to make a comment.
Okay, Teresa.
This is Teresa. Wow, it's very alarming to see this. And I have some ideas, so I'll be contacting you shortly.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa.
Mm-hmm.
Any other comments?
Hi, Sienna, this is Rebecca. I just wanted to say thank you so much for your presentation. I think it's really eye-opening and really great to see all of the initiatives that the tribe is leading. So thank you for all of the work that you're doing.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Todd? I see Todd's hand up.
Hi, this is Todd. Hi, Sienna. I'm going to echo the sentiments of my colleagues. Thanks so much for raising awareness about this very serious environmental issues. And then, in fact, I just looked you up. I just Googled you, and I'll definitely be in contact with you, because I think this could potentially be a great collaboration between you and your tribal council and some of our students at San Bernardino Valley College, our GIS students. I'm specifically looking at this from a spatial data approach. And anything that those students can do, that we could do to assist you, I'll definitely be in touch. So thank you, Sienna.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Thank you, Todd. Pamela?
Great job, Sienna. This is Pam Matsody with Moronga Band of Mission Indians, and I just want to echo what everybody else has said, and we're literally right down the street from you. And I know that you have my contact number, so please reach out to me if you have any questions, please. Great job.
I will. Thank you, Pam.
Thank you. Lisa, did you have a comment? No? Okay, I saw your hand go up and down. Okay. Thank you so much. Definitely want to echo what the other advisory council members stated. Any ways we can collaborate, work together, even among members, that's certainly what we're looking to do with the advisory council. So thank you, Sienna, for your time and for your eye-opening presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, next, I will be providing, if we can share these slides to the EJCP program update. I'll be providing you all an update since last quarter on some of the events and programs that we put together. Next slide. So just as a general overview, I know we have some new members on here. So today I will be providing an update on the 6th Annual Environmental Justice Conference that we just had, our Environmental Justice Advisory Group, our Interagency Task Force, Clean Air Program for elementary students, and briefly touch on other environmental justice initiatives that are occurring at South Coast AQMD. Next slide. So just very generally, we also have what we call the Environmental Justice Advisory Group that focuses on air quality and environmental justice issues in our 4 counties. This group makes recommendations directly to board members, and we did hold a meeting where we reviewed the air quality management plan and then also virtual inspections at their request. The next meeting, if you're interested in tuning in, is on January 29th. 2021. It's crazy that I'm even saying that, but we will be starting a new year. Next slide. So this next section that I want to go over is our 6th Annual Environmental Justice Conference that was on October 28th. I first want to thank all the advisory council members that not only participated in the conference, but that also helped us with outreach, and also, as I'll go over in a little bit, video participants and other forms of participation that really helped make this conference a success. So just as background, annually we've hosted an environmental justice conference that's really been put forth the last 5 years, I believe. And they've been in person. So at the beginning of 2020, we started planning the 6th Annual Environmental Justice Conference, thinking it was going to be an in-person event. And we quickly found out that we had to shift gears and make this a virtual event. So that was completely new, something we had not done before. We had live or webcast of this event onto YouTube, but not to the extent that we put together this conference this year. So we did debate, breaking down the conference into certain sections, but just with the time that we had to turn this into a virtual event, we just stuck with our initial plan, which was a 4-hour virtual event. So I'm happy to say that we did put together this event, 4 hours. We had 2 keynote speakers. We had 2 sections of breakout sessions with 3 panels each. We reached over 750 participants that we were able to track. It was live streamed on our website, YouTube channel, Facebook, and we had great moderators and panelists as well. So just once again, we had an opening message from Mayor Eric Garcetti to set this tone and introduce the conference. Our executive officer, Wayne Nastry, facilitated an interview with Miss Margaret Gordon, who's the co-founder of the West Oakland Environmental Indicators Project. They did like a Q&A. We tried to switch it up so it wasn't all just someone speaking at you. So we had a Q&A portion. Our plenary session was Black Lives Matter, Race and Environmental Justice, which brought together Black Lives Matter and civil rights leaders, where they discussed race, socioeconomic status, and the environment. Our keynote speaker was the California State Attorney General, Javier Becerra, who's a leader in the environmental justice movement and who also created the Bureau of Environmental Justice, which was something that we wanted him to discuss at the conference. So next slide, please. We did have our MC was Jose Trinidad. He's also part of the Youth Leaders Advisory Council. He's really active and he did a great job facilitating and just emceeing the event. So we're really happy with that. We had board member participation. And I really just want to take a moment to highlight the advisory council members that helped not only participate, moderate, and be a panelist, but also help make this event a success. So Paula Torrado, Rebecca Zaragoza, Ada Briseño, and Sahara. You all did great. We thank you for your time and energy. And hopefully next year we have even more participation from our advisory council members or any recommendations. But thank you for helping make this event, this first virtual event, a success. Next slide. So one of the other things that we had through the Environmental Justice Conference was a virtual community exhibitor booth. So it's similar to in-person booths that you'd have in an in-person event. They were virtual this year. To not list all of them, some of those virtual exhibitors included Breathe Southern California, the California Air Resources Board, Green for All, Pacoima Beautiful, Stand LA, Physicians for Social Responsibility Los Angeles, the Achucha. So we had an array of different organizations that were represented. And then I also want to take a moment to I would love to play the video actually here because I just think they were wonderful. And it was actually a recommendation by Paula to include community voices in the conference. That was something that was initially lacking or missing during our planning stages. So we didn't have that much time, but we were able to ask advisory council members last minute and other folks to contribute videos, and community members share what environmental justice means to them. So to me, it was really moving part of the conference. Unfortunately, it was going really quickly. So some of the videos played at the beginning and not at the end. So we're working some of the sections, we were ahead of the conference. We had to lose a section. So I think in future years, we can incorporate this in a better way. But I know Lisa Hart from City of Los Angeles Neighborhood Councils, who's here today, assisted with the videos. We also had Paula assist with the videos. So thank you so much for that. Next slide. So just very briefly, I think it was great that we got some surveys, but an area where we can improve next year is gathering surveys virtually, which turns out to be really difficult. We received 35 surveys out of all the participants that we had, but at least we have some data to look at. And overall, what we saw was that 40% said that it was excellent, 37% said it was very good, 20% said it was good, and 3% said it was fair. So overall, we're seeing where we want to be, which is excellent and very good. So we're really happy about that. And of course, there's always room for improvement. So we'll be looking to do that. Next question was, how well did the conference meet your expectations? 43% said extremely well, 37% said somewhat well, 17 neutral, and 3 not well. 3% was that one survey. And unfortunately, that person didn't leave any comments, so I wasn't able to track how we could improve, but it's still worth noting that there's areas where we can improve on. Other questions that were asked was, how informative were the breakout sessions at the conference? 37% said very informative. 34% said extremely informative. And then we had 26% say somewhat informative and 3% say not so informative. And that 3% was that one survey I was able to track. And just very briefly, some of the comments that we got for how did you like the conference? They said that we had passionate speakers, a diversity of voices, variety of segments. They really liked the Attorney General, Margaret Gordon, many relevant topics. And those are just some comments that we received. And then brief comments on how this conference could be improved. One of the themes that I saw from the surveys was more engagement, discussion, and activities for viewers, which I completely agree with. One of the things that we were trying to do was merge Huva, which was our event management app, and then Zoom. So we're going to be working on that and seeing how we can improve that engagement portion. The audio quality was shaky, some said, but they weren't sure if that was in our control. Some said make it longer, too much to learn in a short time frame. So we have an array of comments that we're looking through and seeing what we can incorporate. I don't know that we would want to make this a longer event. 4 hours for a virtual event is a lot to ask of people. So we'll be looking at that as we go forward. Next slide. So next, I want to briefly touch upon the Interagency Task Force. We did have a meeting where the 2021 goals and objectives were approved. And so most of our goals that have been reviewing at previous meetings are still in effect, which include to implement an environmental agency staff training. Just as a reminder, we did implement one in August. And so we're really looking at the comments from our survey of our first staff training to see if this is something that we want to put again or really put together in 2021, and if we want to expand our outreach for that training. We'll also be working to distribute an interagency referral directory, and we're actually just about to post it. We have the Spanish version, just needs one final review. So we'll be distributing that list shortly and working with them on that. So that's what really we're going to focus on in 2021 is the distribution, and trying to track that is difficult. So that's something that we're talking about. Creating and distributing a directory for internal use. That has been actually more difficult than it sounds, just because it needs to be updated annually. And so we're discussing really, and then our contact at Kelly PA that provided the contacts left. So we're kind of at a standstill on that one and trying to see if that's something that we should even take up. One really great thing that happened is that we collaborated with Los Angeles County Department of Public Works, and they have an internal service locator where you enter the information of South Coast, not of your address, your home address, and it tells you all the agencies that service your address. So if you have a problem with trash, you would find the trash agency there. With air, you would find us there. Before that, we were not listed on there. So that was something really positive that came up. The only negative thing is that we haven't heard back from anyone that wants to be added to that website. So we're working to get more feedback on that. We also have learned about the Empower program by the Liberty Hill Foundation. They go around, they partner with different organizations throughout Los Angeles County, and they educate the community on different programs that are available to them. And so we are seeing if there's a way to partner with them or support their efforts. But we were thinking of doing something similar, but luckily we were able to find them and know that this is already in effect. So we're going to see if we can support them. And then the other goal that was implemented was to develop and host an Air Quality 101 event for public agency staff. A lot of folks do not know what our agency does or have really specific questions. One of the new things are those virtual inspections as well. So we're in the midst of planning that, and our next meeting is February 10th, 2021, if you're interested in attending. Next slide. So we have a lot of updates this meeting, but I don't think I was able to present an update on the Clean Air program for elementary students, and that's that we were able to expand the program, and in 2021 we're tasked with creating 3 virtual videos for students to be showcased in classrooms. We quickly had to adapt to the distance learning, and so we're hoping to go to production in January, do the editing by March to implement by June. So it's very tight timeline. We are contracted with Lee Andrews Group, who's helping us put together this program. And so over the course of 3 years, we'll have a total of 8 videos that will be available for students to see. This year, we're focusing on Air Quality 101. We're focusing on being environmentally friendly and becoming an air quality hero. So we're encouraging them to be sustainable, to do their part to clean the air. And then also we're teaching them about the Air Quality Index and how to tell if it's a good or bad air quality day. So we are still using the flags, but since kids aren't going to school, we're really trying to rely on the app more and show them how to incorporate that as, into their daily routine, and also explain it to their parents. We have curriculum that's being developed. So we're pretty busy on that front, pretty exciting. I know last year, some of the advisory council members assisted us in giving us recommendations or connecting us with principals. So again, if you do have a school that maybe we didn't go to last year or that you would like us to talk to, please let us know. That would be greatly appreciated, since we do have to go to 20 schools. We're hoping to exceed that amount, but that's the minimum requirement. And lastly, next slide. So just as a reminder, today I just went over the environmental justice community partnership programs and programs that we're working on directly. But that's not to say, we have a lot of environmental justice efforts going on throughout the district, and that's embedded in everything that we do. So for South Coast AQMD, as an example, we have our AB 617 efforts. The Why Healthy Air Matters program, which is the high school program that's now also been expanded to even more schools and middle schools. And so we're working together to bridge the CAPES program and the WAM program into like one cohesive educational program that South Coast AQMD offers. And we do also want to pitch that on January 16th, we have the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day of Service. I believe this year that event is The Dream Continues, Working Together to Clean the Air. And it's going to be a virtual event. And so if you're interested, please be on the lookout for that. And I know event staff are also planning a Cesar Chavez Day of Remembrance as well. So be on the lookout for those events. Since they're virtual, they're even more accessible and open. Next slide. Okay, that concludes my presentation. I'd love to get some comments on, I know I went through a lot of programs, but if you have any comments, suggestions on the conference, things to look at for next year, CAPES recommendations, task force, anything that you have right now would be a good time.
Hi, Alicia. This is Valerie. I have a question about the conference. Did you see a difference in type of attendees? Do you think, since it was virtual versus in person, where I know like the in-person ones, do you get maybe like larger amounts of even like non-English speakers, and it brings in a quite diverse community? So just wanted to see if there's
Thank you for that question. I think we got the same amount of Spanish speakers that we usually do, and we did have Spanish interpretation available for Spanish speakers. But one thing that we saw this year, and I was expecting it already, we got jumpers, so they would come on, and then they'd leave, and then they'd come back on again, and then they'd, which is fine. And the conferences, I forgot to mention, also recorded. But we did get a lot of folks come on and then come out, or some returned, some didn't. So we had a lot of that.
Okay, thank you.
Deborah?
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Deborah Mendelson. I'm the Governing Board Assistant for Supervisor Rutherford. But previous to that, I was the Board Assistant for Supervisor Mike Antonovich. And I just wanted to say how delighted I was to see the CAPES program continuing and expanding. That was an initiative started by Supervisor Antonovich many years back. And I'm delighted to see that it's expanding and that this committee is embracing that. So thank you, Alicia, for that presentation.
Thank you, Deborah. Any other comments? Any suggestions for future conferences that you would want us to know now as we start kind of brainstorming 2021?
Yeah, this is Paula. Very quickly, I just wanted to thank you so much for all the presentations. This was very insightful and helpful. I'm looking at the Environmental Justice Advisory Committee, and I'm thinking about how the efforts could be more coordinated with regulatory efforts. How can this committee can be more supported and be more engaged in terms of the regulatory efforts that are happening, and it could be through 617, but beyond that, what are the SIPs, the proposals for the AQMD, and how can we be more engaged in those? Because I know that that's coming up for 2022, so I just wanted to highlight how that could be more coordinated and develop more insightful partnerships with environmental justice communities.
Thank you, Paula. Do you think it would be helpful to get an AQMD presentation the next meeting?
Sorry, say that again, Alicia.
Do you think it would be helpful if we had an air quality management plan overview, kind of how we do for EJAG for the next meeting? Because that's something that can be requested.
Yes. Okay. Yes, I think so. And like looking at what are the goals and like really thinking about how EJ voices can be part of that, those objectives as well, as we're looking at air quality improvement plans. Thanks, Alicia.
Thank you, Paula. That'll be an action item.
Thanks.
Hi, this is Teresa. I have a question in regards to electric cars and having to transition, in what is it, 2030 to electrify our system with just electric cars. I think a lot of people are concerned, especially people that maybe don't have the capability to purchase an electric car. How is that going to look in the future? And I just hear a lot of buzz about that, people talking about having to purchase an electric car, and it's concerning. Maybe something in that regard.
Okay, we can request our one of our teams to give a presentation on electric vehicles, maybe on what they've heard. I'm not sure if that would be a state from Philip Crabb or if that would be more from our engineering team. So I'll look into that further and see if we can get some information to the advisory council on that, whether it's a presentation or an update.
I mean, it's a great opportunity to let them know, to educate them why, the importance of it. But financially speaking, I believe our communities of color may not be able to transition into electric cars, but I know I hear that there are going to be some cars coming out that are $25,000 cars, but still that might be, the way that many of our community, our low income, the LMI low income communities, they purchase used cars. So, well, maybe people will sell their used electric vehicles and purchase new ones. I don't know, but okay, thank you. Yeah, that's just a
Maybe Lisa
concern.
Hart wants to respond.
Yes, you can tell I'm like,
I know you, Lisa.
We're working on this, and Valerie actually has connected me to a colleague who I'm now working with on this. I have a very different view of it, although I'm still learning, and I could go on and on and on, but I will say super briefly, there are huge, and I mean huge, incentives to help people get these electric vehicles. Now, they are not easy getting these, but they are huge. I mean, you can get thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of incentives. And actually, so getting an EV is probably less expensive than getting a regular car.
Okay.
And a lot of them apply to the used vehicles. And I actually have to return my leased EV. So I am in the process of trying to get a used EV. So there's a huge used EV market. I could go on and on and on, but you can also go to our website, ncsa.la, for a lot more information about this stuff.
Okay, so yeah, information is perfect. That would be informing the communities, because what I've heard about electric people that own electric vehicles are wealthier, and they take advantage of all of these incentives, and it's not costing them anything. But those that are unable to qualify, I guess, I don't know what the issue is.
Yeah, I think the issue, I mean, we just completed our second focus group on this. I think the issue is people sort of assume that they don't know about the incentives, or they assume that the EV is out of their league. But the incentives are actually really, really good. Now, they're not easy. I'm not going to say it's an easy process. And unfortunately, I just spoke to Tom Lee of AQMD last night. Yeah, last night. He runs their Replace Your Ride program, which is a fantastic program. But because related to the coronavirus, it doesn't have any funding for the rest of this fiscal year. So it probably won't be funded again until July.
So before we get much further, should we put this on agenda for next time?
I know, I'm getting.
Yeah, we can put it on the agenda. And then the other thing I was going to suggest is, I know Valerie does a lot of work in this. Our agency has, as they mentioned, the Replace Your Ride program and other programs as well. So we'll agendize this. But in the meantime, if you do want to share information among each other, you're more than welcome to do that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd be happy to help with.
Let's talk, Lisa. We can talk later.
And then I think for your concern, Teresa, just on that point, it's not like people will have to get rid of their cars come that year if they have an older car, but all new car sales are going to be electric, or at least a different sort of alternative fuel.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll talk later.
And I just had one thing to say about the conference.
Yes, Lisa.
This might not be relevant, and I know nobody's figured this out yet, but I did attend, and I thought it was very good. It met or exceeded my expectations, but it is very hard. I know we haven't figured out yet how to make things interactive when we have such a large group of people. And I guess I would just say, I'm assuming by next year, we'll be doing it in person again, but if we're not, I think we still have to do some work to figure out platforms find platforms that will enable us to have some face-to-face interaction, because I think that would make, reduce the jumping and make 4 hours easier for a conference.
Thank you, Lisa. Okay, next slide, please. So next we have member updates. Would anyone like to start it off with updates? You can raise your hand and we can call on you if you have an update. I don't see any hands. I don't want to call on you, but does
Alicia,
anyone have an update? Paula?
I actually have to jump off, so I can give a quick update. So for our air quality work in SEL with South Central Los Angeles, we are continuing our advocacy and mobilization to ensure the selection of our community for the AB 617 SERP. And along with those efforts, we are continuing our research on sector-based analysis on how to streamline the backed embarked process for the industries of concern that communities have identified, including auto body shops, dry cleaners, oil drilling, and metal manufacturing facilities in South Los Angeles. So that's a big part of the next steps in our process, as well as building technical capacity and the policy muscle for community members to be more directly engaged with the 617 process. But in addition to that, we're also looking at a partnership with UCLA, the Grand Sustainable Challenge, to do some research around zero emissions and building electrification in South Los Angeles and how that can look like. So we're really excited about that opportunity. And then I think, yeah, the biggest update is just the work that we're doing around 617 and supporting efforts to update the blueprint and those efforts. And I think that's it.
Thank you, Paula.
Thank you, Alicia. Thank you. I have to jump off, but thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
All right, Sienna?
Hi, just a quick update. We are near completion for our second air monitoring station, which is located at Salton Sea Beach. So we're located very near the playa, so we'll be able to collect PM 2.5 and PM 10 at that site. So we're just waiting for internet connection, and we'll be able to be collecting some really good data at that site. So we're excited. It's been a long time coming. Our little air shelter has been there for 10 years, but sadly we weren't able to get any electricity to the site due to some issues with one of the utility companies. So that's, you know, something really big for us, that we'll be able to have 2 monitoring stations, one in Riverside County and that site, the second site, the new site in Imperial.
Oh, thank you. Lisa?
I just actually wanted to mention one other thing that Paula's organization, Physicians for Social Responsibility LA, is responsible for. We got a big win yesterday. The LA City Council Environment Committee began the process of shutting down the oil drilling sites in LA. So that's something we've been fighting for years, and we just really got it going yesterday. So that's huge. And we also had another win today with the City Council. They agreed to start moving toward divesting employee pension funds from fossil fuels. So we've had a couple of big wins, and so we're feeling good right now.
Thank you for sharing. Todd?
Great. Hi, thanks for the opportunity and thanks for a great meeting. I wanted to also apologize for jumping in late. I was having a great discussion about environmental issues with students. So sorry, I got carried away. Anyway, what I wanted to say is first, I'll call myself out. I will fully participate in future conferences. And so I am remiss that I missed this year's meeting. So whether it be virtual or in person next year, I certainly look forward to that, as do our students and community participants. What I wanted to say is, yeah, I'm also really keenly interested in those clean microgrids. And I just did a kind of a quick Google search of what they are and where they have been implemented with success. And so anything that we can do at our college, which is San Bernardino Valley College, to support any of those initiatives, let us know. back to Sienna's great presentation, and anyone else, if you have a need for geographic information systems data, we always have students who are hungry for experience, and that can be a win-win. The students can gain experience, our GIS students can gain experience, and then you can gain some geographic insight into your particular environmental justice issues. So just contact me, please. I'm happy to help. Last thing I wanted to say, I haven't forgotten about the virtual bus tour. So any of our AQMD or other EJ partners, let me know how I can assist with that. I know I had discussed that at our previous quarterly meeting, and I unfortunately kind of dropped the ball on that one. So I'm happy to pick it up again. So thank you.
Thank you, Todd. I actually forgot to mention, unfortunately for this year, we did have to cancel the bus tour. Well, it's usually, as you're aware, an in-person bus tour, but we are not proceeding with the virtual bus tour. We're actually considering, not knowing what the landscape looks like for 2021, potentially doing an informational webinar for college students on our agency and environmental justice. So that's one of the ideas that we have. So we'll probably be reaching out to you, Todd, in regard to that, and also outreach, because we also feel like this could be an opportunity to engage even more students virtually.
Great. Thank you so much, Alicia. Appreciate that.
Any other comments or updates, member updates? I know we just got a few member updates. Okay, I don't see any. So next slide, please. So our next meeting, hard to believe, but March 3rd, 2021, that seems so far away, but not that, just a quarter away. So for now, we do have that plan to be virtually, probably will remain virtual. Next slide. Any other business? Public comment? Any public comments? Okay, I do not see any. Next slide. And next slide. Okay, so we're just going to conclude the meeting, just reminding you all to please share that we have an app that is available to download for the community to learn more about air quality and incorporate it as part of their daily routine. And so we wish you all a happy holiday and a happy new year. We will see you in 2021. If between now and then you need anything from us, feel free to reach out to me or to Julie directly. We'll be happy to assist you. But thank you so much. Have a great day.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Thank you. You as well. Merry Christmas.
Bye.
Alicia, I have a quick question. It's Ada.
Hi,
Is it at 2 from 12 to 2 on those dates?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
Thank
Bye.
you. Igual.
Hey, Paul. You ready to go into the next meeting?
Give me a sec.